Former President Donald Trump is coming to the defense of his former personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani. On Thursday, federal officials executed a search warrant at the home and office of the former New York City mayor. This is a culmination of a year-and-a-half-long investigation into Giuliani's dealings with Ukraine during the Trump administration. Officials question whether Giuliani lobbied on behalf of Ukrainian officials during his tenure as Mr. Trump's personal attorney. He's also suspected of illegally acting as a foreign agent, trying to get Ukraine to announce a criminal investigation into the Bidens.
Rudy Giuliani is a great patriot. He does these things. He just loves this country. And they raid his apartment. It's like so unfair and such a it's like a double standard.
The FBI seized several cell phones and other electronic devices during the search. Thursday's seizures signify another stark contrast between the Trump and Biden administrations. Under the Trump administration, the Department of Justice was blocked from investigating Giuliani's alleged involvement with Ukraine. However, in an interview this morning with CNN, Press Secretary Jen Psaki said the White House was not alerted by the Department of Justice that it would be executing any search warrants involving Rudy Giuliani. She went on to emphasize the importance of the DOJ's ability to operate as its own independent entity. Jessica Levinson joins us now for more on all this. She's a CBS News legal contributor and a professor at Loyola Law School. Jessica, welcome. Great to see you. So, obtaining a search warrant is a lengthy process, especially obtaining one against an attorney, such as, Rudy Giuliani is an attorney, he's a lawyer himself. So why is that, and what steps needed to be taken to execute this search warrant on Giuliani?
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is a very serious step to take against any attorney. And why? Because you're worried that when you execute a search warrant that you might find attorney-client privileged information. And so the Department of Justice has a process for that. They'll probably have a separate team go through to see and take out any privileged information. And why, Rudy Giuliani, of course, isn't just any attorney. He was the personal attorney for the President of the United States. And that raises different concerns, both, again, with respect to attorney-client privilege, with respect to the appearance of potentially political motivation, with respect to potential executive privilege. And you said, how can you get the search warrant? The standard, in a sense, is the same for everyone. The Department of Justice has to go to a federal judge and say, we have probable cause. That doesn't mean proof beyond a reasonable doubt. It means probable cause to believe that a crime was committed and that we're going to find evidence of that crime in this particular location or in these locations. So it's a high standard for anybody, but then you have those additional considerations, again, because Rudy Giuliani isn't just anybody. He's an attorney and the former president's personal attorney.
Right. And so if nothing is found, does that then raise the specter of this being politically motivated, even though this has been, according to Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, a completely independent action on the part of the DOJ, not finding something would be embarrassing to investigators as well, wouldn't it?
I think that that's how the public might view it. But I will also say that not finding anything isn't an indication that the federal prosecutors did something improper. It's an indication that they're in an investigation and that they don't yet think that they should have indicted. If you go ahead and indict Rudy Giuliani, for instance, and it comes to light that there was no evidence, that's a stain on the Department of Justice. That then looks politically motivated. But the fact that they're now going through the steps that federal prosecutors are supposed to take an investigation, if nothing comes of it, that just shows that an investigation didn't uncover the wrongdoing, that they had probable cause, but again, not cause beyond a reasonable doubt. All of that is to say that's the kind of legality of it, but how will it look? I mean, I think the way it will play is that the Department of Justice was trying to go after President Trump and there was no there. But that's not what I would view as the reality.
Right. So does the simple fact that this search warrant was executed tell you anything about the amount of evidence federal officials may already have against Giuliani?
Well, it tells us that they have enough evidence to go into court to say to a federal judge, we think there's probable cause here. It doesn't tell us that they have more evidence than that, but it shows that they've at least reached that fairly serious threshold. Where are they in the probe or in the case? We don't know for certain, but we know that they've at least amassed enough information, enough evidence to give them an indication that it is, in fact, proper to go into federal court and to say to a judge, we would like to have this search warrant. And when it comes to a search warrant executed on Rudy Giuliani, what we should also think about is this had to go up to the highest levels of the Department of Justice, either probably the Deputy Attorney General, or depending on the timing, the acting Deputy Attorney General. So this worked its way all the way up through the Department of Justice. And that does give us some indication, I think, of the severity and where they are in the investigation.
And so what happens next into this probe into Giuliani? And if you were his attorney, would you advise him to remain silent? Because we know he does like to speak out, and not always to his benefit.
Yes, client control could be, understatement alert, client control could be an issue when it comes to Rudy Giuliani. I would absolutely say that he should remain silent, that he's not going to help his case by speaking out. And, what happens next? Well, investigators will go over the evidence. As I said, I think as separate members of the Department of Justice will pull out anything that could be subject to the attorney-client privilege. And then investigators will go over the evidence, and I absolutely think that they'll do what any investigator should do, which is follow the evidence. If the evidence leads somewhere, then they could either ask for additional evidence, or we could go forward with an indictment. If the evidence indicates that there's no wrongdoing, then you close an investigation. And so I don't mean to give you every lawyer's answer of it depends, but it really depends what they find. And so, yes, my advice to Rudy Giuliani would be make yourself scarce and try and be very circumspect about what you say in public, because it's very unlikely to help this case.
And if this investigation does reveal any new information about the Trump administration's involvement with Ukraine, could it implicate the former president in any way? Could he possibly face any new charges as a private citizen?
Sure. I mean, if it uncovers evidence that the former president of the United States violated a federal statute or tried to further Rudy Giuliani, for instance, tried to aid and abet his violation of a federal statute, again, depending on the evidence, depending on what's uncovered, yes, a former president absolutely could face a federal indictment. Again, in the world of hypotheticals, we don't know what would be uncovered. We don't know if we're just looking at potential violations of lobbying laws with respect to the Ukraine or also wrongdoing with respect to the 2020 election and allegations of pressure tactics when it comes to that election. But the former president at this point, does not have any immunity as a result of being the former president. That's the key word there. So he doesn't enjoy any protections that you and I don't enjoy.
Right. All right. Well, Jessica Levinson, thank you so much for your legal insight. We appreciate it as always.
Thank you.